Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the flood situation as it stands today in all of Pakistan. Of course, we're also seeing KPK, Char Sadda, particularly Nowshera being critical. We've just received reports that 4 lakh cusic water is at this time expected, and the devastation that is being exhibited across the board in Pakistan at this time is perhaps unparalleled in a lot of ways. We saw a lot happen in 2010 floods also. The kind of relief efforts that are underway at this time, we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about whether the need of the hour seems to be a political unity for all the political leadership to stand together and all other considerations to take a back seat while we can all work towards helping our people, rehabilitating them. At this time there are dead bodies being fished out of the water. People are losing their loved ones, they're losing their belongings, they're losing their houses as we speak, and enough cannot be said about what the kind of devastation that is being seen across the board. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about, again, like I said, we have seen the Prime Minister say that it is a time of crisis for Pakistan. The floods, of course, and the situation pursuant to those floods is certainly another case in point, and whether all the leadership, political leadership, can come together. We are seeing political leaders. We've seen Mariam Nawaz say that she's also going to visit areas. We saw the Prime Minister today and his team, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. He was accompanied by him also, and across the board political leadership, Imran Khan Sahab also. So we are seeing political leaders move towards flood affected areas to be there for people at this time. We'll be talking about all of that today. I have with me Saida Nosheen Iftikhar, who's an MNA with PMLN. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Zarqa, who's a senator with PTI. Thank you for joining us. Ali Rashid, who is leader PPP. Thank you for being with us. We'll also be talking to different representatives who are at this time present in different flood affected areas to update us on what's happening, the relief efforts that are underway at this time. Ali, let me start off with you. Overall, what is the situation in Sindh? Can you update us a little bit? We also saw the Prime Minister accompanied by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari in affected areas today. Of course, that is at this time people need their political representatives to stand by them. There's no two opinions on that. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree with that, NAHRUKH. And that being said, it is heartbreaking what's going on. There are thousands of people who are displaced, hundred thousands of houses which have been affected, 100,000 houses which have been totally destroyed. These people are literally on the roads. The floods are not stopping and things are getting worse. But we are doing everything which we can. And I think Chairman Bilawal is leading from the front, and he's making sure that everybody, even political workers, not just the elected reps from the 23 districts in interior Sindh, are with the people, but even the political workers have been deputed, and we're doing everything possible. All relief efforts are being made. Today, the PM also accompanied with Mr. Bilawal was there, and that being said, we have set up tents and camps all over interior Sindh. We are giving clean drinking water to all the affectees. 2 meals a day we are taking care of, so nobody's hungry. Our medical doctors are on ground, present to check everybody for any illnesses, any diseases. So we are doing everything we can, and by the efforts of our foreign minister, we've been able to secure the help of the UN and EU. They've pledged and they're sending aid. That being said, the Sindh government has set up an account to do whatever they can, and people are coming forward. And even on the very, I think it's not a matter of, it's just anybody who has a heart needs to come forward and do their bit, because this
Absolutely,
is just,
absolutely. I don't
yeah,
think there are two
yeah,
opinions on that. Ali,
yeah,
I'll come back to you.
yeah.
I'm going to go to Saida Nausheen Iftikhar. Nausheen, overall, of course, I don't think you can disagree with what Ali is saying. He's talking about the leadership coming together overall. Of course, there has been criticism about, the political leaders coming together. Do you think that this is a calamity of unparalleled proportions? It will bring our leaders together. Perhaps they will be able to put their political differences aside and move towards helping people, move towards rehabilitation, move towards the kind of devastation that is being caused at this time, to stand by those that are being affected. Nausheen, can you hear me? I don't think Nausheen can hear me. I want to go to Taimur, who is a spokesperson MDMA, and I want to speak to him about what's happening in Nowshera and Cha Sadda in particular. Ji, Taimur, can you hear me? Taimur? Okay, I can't hear Taimur either. Ali, overall, let me put the same question to you in terms of getting together the leadership, the kind of acrimony, the kind of, I would have to say bad blood we've seen between the PDMA at this time. Of course, we saw Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and Shehbaz Sharif Saab, the Prime Minister, stand together, and of course that sends a very strong message across. But overall, the kind of acrimony, the kind of bad blood we've seen with the leadership of the PTI, do you think it's going to be possible to put those differences aside and for all of the political leaders to come together in this calamity?
See, the thing is that we would love for that to happen. We would love that we are all on the same page, and because at this time the people of this country need us. But
right.
Unfortunately, if you see some political parties, in example PTI, are talking about bad governance and bad efforts being made by the Sindh government or etc. or in Balochistan, and that is which is not true, because these kind of floods, nobody can do anything. This is like climate change. This is global warming. Things are changing. I mean, if things are bad in Sindh, things are equally, if not worse, in KP. But you'll see that People's Party or our chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari has not even once made any negative comment about KP, that the work that PTI is to blame for that. And we are saying we should all come together. And there we have PTI doing political point scoring and saying that yes, because of the Sindh government could not, do enough and didn't take the right measures. That's why the things are happening in Sindh. What about KP? Buildings, hotels, with floods, everything is like equally as bad there, if not worse. We didn't, do any. I mean, this is the time we should rise beyond, these kind of issues and set our differences aside and come together for the nation, for the country, and work together as a team. And politics we can always do later, but I think at a time like this, when our nation, our people need us for the sake of humanity, we should come together and resolve these issues and address them together.
What is the overall situation in Sindh? You've taken what kind of rehabilitation efforts are underway? What is the role that is being played at this time by the government? Also, of course, civil society needs to play a role. Everyone really can do. We want donor organizations to play a part. We also want each and every individual to do what they can in this kind of a calamity. Could you please update us a little bit?
Yeah. So, as I said, we have set up an account and a lot of people are coming forward and helping out. And I think every single person because political workers who belong to districts are there, political representatives, MNAs, MPAs have, we can say that we've set duties for them, but needless to say, even if they weren't duty bound to be there, out of humanity, our workers would be there to serve the people. We have set up tents, camps, and we're doing all the efforts we can, and we are reaching out to the business community, and everybody is, taking, and Karachi especially has been in the forefront of being one of the most generous cities in Pakistan. And even in 2005, when the earthquake had come in Kashmir, we had Karachiites had, given, that were very, very helpful with everything, and they're doing so now also. So PPP is just the message which we are giving is like you don't have to come under our umbrella as PPP to donate or to do your efforts. Just do your bit. Do it under any umbrella. We don't care under which party you want to do it, under which NGO, or if you just do it, if you want to do it individually. Just do what you can, because we're really concerned. Things are really bad. People have lost their homes. They're hungry. Their diseases are rising, and people are on the roads. And the thing is that I'm just really on a personal note. This is not my political.
Let me on that note. Let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Nausheen. Gee, Nausheen, can you hear me now? Nausheen, can you hear me? Nausheen? Right, Ali, please continue. I'm so sorry, but there seems to be a problem with audio here.
Yeah, I understand. So I think everybody needs to come forward. I think politics at this point and political point scoring at this point should be discouraged. People who are still acting power hungry and saying that we should carry on with the elections which are scheduled, or are criticizing the fact that the local body elections got postponed, should have a heart. They should understand, look around you, what's going on. I think there's more important, human lives are more important than political positions or offices or seats and elections. So I think we can always do that in due time, but I think right now the nation needs us, our people need us, because these are the people who will vote for you and will make you whatever you are. So I think, and the blame game should stop. It's not, this is it's never happened. These kind of floods have never ever come before. People who are on ground tell me they thought things were bad in 2000 and 2011 when there were floods. Yes. But this is much, this is on a different level. So I think it's time to just, have a heart, be human, and just do your bit. If you can contribute. If you can do your bit, do your bit. If you can't, at least don't make it controversial.
Ali, in terms of other private organizations, donor organizations, do you know other, their efforts, relief efforts at play? Like you said, Karachi is, of course, as far as it's the industrial city in Pakistan. They're also very generous, like you said. So the efforts there, could you update us if there are any private organizations, donor agencies also, at this time working towards relief efforts?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, if I just go through my phone, I'll tell you there's not, I think I probably have around 50 to 100 messages from different organizations, NGOs, foundations who are working towards working for relief efforts. And people, I know a few people who are individually also are on ground without, they don't have an NGO, but they just, they feel the pain of the people, and they're on the ground. And our party, PPP, and I'm sure other political parties also, I'm sure, I think, you should give credit where
let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Taimur Ali, who's with the MDMA, to update us on what's happening in Char Sadda and Nowshera at this time. Taimur, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for having me up.
What is the overall situation in Nowshera and Char Sadda? As I understand, there's new, more water is expected at this time, and things, can you please, are quite critical. Can you please update us?
Ma'am, right now there are high floods on different rivers at the moment. Like on River Kabul at Warsak there is high flood. around 1 lakh and 12,000. At the same time, in Noshera, the flood is very high. It's around 1 lakh and 76,000. At the same time, there is high flood at Panchgoda and the Sawat River, at Wadakhela, and in Chagdara. So right now, right at the beginning of this night, right at tomorrow morning, we have released an advisory in which we have which we have directed the district administration to evacuate the masses from the dangerous areas. We also ask them to identify the locations where the masses can be in danger. So the evacuation, the district administration and the other concerned authorities are on the ground, and they have evacuated the people. Right now, the water may rise by tomorrow, but right now the things are not as bad as it seems to be. But things are under control for now, and Provincial Disaster Management Authority HAMEED is doing its best to protect the lives of the public. We have on the directions of CM Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, PDM Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is working in relief activities. Right now, we have established 6 relief camps in Dia Khan and other part of the province. At the beginning of the monsoon, we have also identified 184 campsites, and we have also asked district administration that these camps can be used for shelter. So we have asked district administration that if they feel that a particular area may be found maybe under danger of flood, so they can evacuate the masses, and they can evacuate the people and also take them to the relief camps. Right now, we don't have any problem in terms of, you can say, finances or relief goods. As at the beginning of this monsoon, we have already released the non-food items. We have already released the money to the district administration, like the relief funds. And at the same time, we have also sent the relief good to the district administration. So the things are not as bad as it seems to be.
But overall, in terms of the efforts, we also there's a lot of effort being made by Pakistan Army at this time. Also, they're also neck to neck with other authorities like the NDMA and other authorities that are at this time, taking part in relief efforts. So overall, in your opinion, how long will it take for the situation? Of course, it's we can't really be certain at this time to subside sufficiently.
Well, as per MAD predictions is concerned, my Pakistan Meteorological Department, that this rain spell will be till 26th of this month. So hopefully this may, today maybe this rain spell may be concluded or by tonight. So hopefully the things will be better by tomorrow. But right now, as you said, that Pakistan Army and all district administration and all other concerned administrations are working together. We are jointly working with the Rescue 112, and at the same time Civil Defense is also working in different areas. So we are trying our level best to protect the lives of the public. At the same time,
thank you so much for updating us. Let me go to Shahid Rind, who's a senior journalist from Quetta. Ji, Shahid Saab, overall, what is the situation in Quetta at this time? What are the relief efforts? Again, we want to be updated on what's happening in each individual area. So we'd like your latest update on what the situation is with regard to the relief efforts, with also, and when do you think it's likely for it to subside sufficiently?
NAHRUKH, when I'm talking to you before that, I think 2 hours back, we get connectivity through telephones and mobile and internet network. From last 24 hours, Quetta was completely disconnected in communication way. Road networks we don't have earlier, and also we don't have the train network. In last 24 hours, we have faced continuous rain in last 24 hours in Quetta city. And because of that, the telephone fiber optic cable was down, and because of it, Quetta was completely disconnected in communication way. I think whatever Balochistan faced in this monsoon spell, it's beyond the limit of a government of Balochistan or a federal government to rehabilitate or rescue and relieve the people. I think for this, government must need to call up a donors conference or international donors conference, because Balochistan is a half of Pakistan, and it's impossible for government of Balochistan to rehabilitate these flood victims or rain victims in available resources which government of Balochistan have.
Do you think that are you updated on any whether the Balochistan government has any plans of doing this? Of course, you know, we've also had the Prime Minister announce certain grants. He's also said he's pledged funds towards solely towards Balochistan also, and towards the flood rehabilitation in general. But you're saying that that will not be sufficient alone.
I think as far as the government of Balochistan is concerned, where we have a 65 members provincial assembly house, we have 18 member national assemblies, and we have 14 senators in the Senate. But very interestingly, government of Balochistan given the responsibility to the spokesperson government of Balochistan to connect with the international organization. It means we don't have a trust on our elected representatives. Chief Minister is given a task to a non-elected spokesperson. So we can understand how much we are interested to take on board the international organization for the relief and the rescue and the rehabilitation efforts. At that time, when we have a member provincial assembly like Sana Baloch, we have a Senate in Anwarullah Kakad, we have in Senate Kamran Murtaza. These are the competent peoples who can, even Zubaida Jalal, she's a MNA. So we have this kind of names, but we not giving the responsibility to these people, and we are giving the responsibility to a spokesperson government of Balochistan to connect with the international organization for the relief, rescue, and the rehabilitation. So I think federal government must come up to take this matter with the international organization as far as Balochistan relief, rescue, and the rehabilitation is concerned.
Right. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for joining us. Let me go to Zahid Kashkori Saab. Ji, Zahid Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, Mahrukh, I can hear you.
Zahid Saab, thank you for joining us. Overall, what is your update? We saw, I don't know if you were listening to Shahid Rind Saab and his opinion on what's happening as far as the Balochistan Assembly is concerned. But overall, as far as the devastation that is being caused by floods all over Pakistan at this time, the leadership across the board coming together, how do you see things?
Mahrukh, the situation is quite worsening across the country, because I have worked on it. The official figures so far I have collected from different sources. Around 35 million people are homeless in the country. And if you are asking me to keep focus on Punjab only, then the Dera Ghazi Khan and Muzaffargarh seem to be the most affected areas in southern Punjab, because in Punjab right now 279 kilometers of roads and 18 bridges and 500 plus shops, and obviously 187 deaths reported so far in the province. But the loss is quite bigger, even bigger than we think, because the flood is being reported in the coming 24 to 48 hours. It might be hitting to 3 districts like Laya, Dera Ghazi Khan, and obviously the Muzaffargarh. These districts would be the worst victims again. And the situation, as you know, we covered 2010 flood across the country. I got the opportunity to cover this flood, but this time, this flood crossed the whole record as 1,100 plus deaths reported so far, and the huge around 2 million acres of crops washed away in these floods. This is a crisis situation in the country, and obviously, of course, there are many factors, but it's not a man-made, of course, climate change and the situation. And this time, this flood is quite different in the nature because the disaster and the destruction in this disaster is quite worrying as compared to the previous four floods occurred in the country. As you
Zaid Saab,
know,
how would you compare this to the 2010 floods that happened? Of course, they were also devastating and on a scale, and overall, the kind of, the kind of devastation, the kind of effects that you are seeing. How would you compare?
this is quite different. It's disaster and destruction is quite bigger in a way in size and volume as the officials are telling us because at this stage there is difficult to at least scale and volume of destruction and to just to create panic in the country. But of course, it seems at this stage as the official I spoke to in all provinces, the PDMAs, and almost I spoke to around 36 district officials in the past 4 days. It seems that the Sindh is the worst victim this time again, Sindh province, and then the KPK, and obviously now it's the turn of Southern Punjab because we were just hearing from NDMA and the different bodies that this water and this flood could cross even 7 lakh pieces. And this is quite worrying for at least Miawali and obviously Dera Ismail Khan and then Bhakkar and District Raya and Kotaddu and Muzaffargarh. And this is quite worrying at this stage because the rain has been devastating and it still continues. But before, in 2010, it was quite different because it was a glacier meltdown and natural flow of water in different rivers, all 5 rivers of Pakistan. But this time, you might have seen this, that the rain destroyed almost everything before the flood comes over. And that's why it's quite different. And the crisis, food crisis could happen because 2 million acre crops in the country, almost 1/5 of Pakistan total area, all majority food crops almost have been destroyed and cotton stand nowhere. The very important factor, the cotton and the rice and the wheat, obviously, the wheat storage in different districts reported that around 0.7 million metric tons has been destroyed either due to flood or due to heavy rains. So this crisis could give the impact in coming 2 weeks or maybe later on, and there could be a food shortage. And the most important thing, we have learned this, that 400 plus children lost their lives. And obviously around 300 women as well, among 1,100 plus people who lost their lives. So it's a worrying sign. Humanitarian crisis occurred in Pakistan, and obviously the government already appealed to international community to come out and help out Pakistan to get rid of this natural calamity. But obviously there might be steps, and there is a need of collective effort. Forget about the politics in different provinces. The center must engage the provinces to come up. There's 141 cities affected in these heavy rains and floods. So it's a huge area in the country. In 2010 flood, as you were asking that how can I compare that, around 20 million people left houseless in 2010, but this scale has gone bigger than even, because now it's a official figure is 33 million people are homeless, and obviously around 1 million houses either partially or completely damaged. So it is a bigger, of course, natural disaster. Pakistan remained the worst victim in South Asia. So
Are you,
these are the
Zaid
facts.
Saab, are we seeing a move from the international community yet? Are we seeing any sort of movement, donor agencies overall come together at all in your knowledge?
Marok, this is very significant. If I can tell you that the Prime Minister also established contacts with different friendly countries and also met, as we were told, that a couple of diplomats in Islamabad as well. But the most important thing, the INGOs, international NGOs, and the NGOs in Pakistan are not operative in different parts of the country where the flood goes on, like NGOs are not allowed, INGOs particularly are not allowed to work in many parts of Balochistan, and similarly in many parts of Dera Ghazi Khan and Muzaffargarh and Laya and different other parts of southern Punjab. They are not allowed to operate over there. In the situation to help out the people through different international organizations it seemed not possible, because in 2010 NGOs were allowed to operate in the country. INGOs and NGOs were around 100 plus NGOs were operating in different parts of the country to help out the people who are flood victims. But this time these NGOs are not operative in a full flood form, because either they are not allowed, either they have not been very well equipped to meet this start. And that's where the other NGOs like Falah Insaniyat Foundation, or like Jamaat Islami Foundation, like AD Foundation, they are working well, but their capacity has been a problem because
Zaid
the
Saab,
size.
let me thank you so much for updating us. I think that it's heart-wrenching, like the way that you are, what conditions that we are at this time being shown across the board from all over. I want to talk more about that, but let me go to Rana Ihsan Afzal Khan from the PMLN. Rana Saab, we saw the Prime Minister visit Sakhar today with Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, Chief Minister Sindh, Sakhar Barrage, and all over. We're also seeing relief efforts by the Pakistan Army, other organizations, PDMA, and all over the efforts that are being made. In your opinion, is it possible for across-the-board leadership to come together for rehabilitation, as it seems to be a crisis at this time of unprecedented proportions, even if you compare the devastation caused by floods in 2010. Do you think it's possible at all?
Yes, of course, it is possible, and I think this is the time for national cohesiveness and national unity for the purpose of, rehabilitating, rescuing, and resettling the effects of the flood. And I think all the provincial government should be working in coordination with the federal government, and maximum efforts should be put to provide relief to these people. And I think, we are openly coordinating with the provinces, and we hope they will also further extend cooperation for this purpose. The federal government also has, up till now, almost released 28 billion to the affected families, and the demand is, much more. National Disaster Management is reviewing the situation on a second-to-second basis from Islamabad as well, from their other, from the resources all across Pakistan. But, we will have to agree that the government is lacking on resources, and we feel that the nation needs to join in, and there is a PM Relief Fund which has been, the numbers of which have been shared all across the media, and I hope that people will support that fund so we can provide relief to the people. And also, we are also, interacting with the international donors and the friendly countries, making them aware of the situation and that we would require help in this, really critical situation right now.
Rana Sahab,
So
what about your coordination? Like you are saying, of course, we are hopeful that all provinces will cooperate. What about the coordination efforts from Punjab at this time, from KPK, from other provinces? Are you getting the kind of facilitation that the federal government requires? And are you getting the kind of coordination that is needed, of course, to get help on ground?
Well, obviously, the federal government is in touch with the provincial government, and they on their own are also doing relief work, but I think that needs to be stepped up, and there should be, I would suggest that a committee is formed, which includes all the 4 provinces and the federal government, so where they can sit together and monitor the situation and, pool in all the resources of the provinces and the federal government. That is one way to move forward. I hope that happens, and I'll also recommend it to my government. So a lot needs to be done, and yes, if there's one thing that we should not be playing politics over it, and we should not be involved in a blame game right now or pointing fingers. This is not the right time to do that. That can be done later once the crisis is over and we begin with the resettling of the affectees. So right now, I think it is time for the national cohesive.
Rana Sahab, what about your other, as far as, of course, we've seen, your leadership, the Prime Minister himself, Mariam Nawaz also, the visit to affected areas that, she's also said that she will go. But in terms of other political reps in the area, are those reps also being told, are MPs and MNAs also being told to be on ground in these affected areas to help as much as possible?
Of course, the Chief Minister of Balochistan and the members of the Parliament are in touch with the Prime Minister, and similarly in Sindh there is coordination. I hope the same sort of coordination comes up in Punjab and KPK, and this has to be a joint effort. And let me also mention here that the social media team of PMLN has suspended all political activities on social media and has announced that all focus of social media will also be on the flood affectees and the problems being faced by where the flood has hit hard. So I think this is the right time to put politics aside and work for the betterment of the affected areas and the affected people.
Right. Thank you so much for being with us, Rana Ihsan Afzal Khan. Ji, do we have Ali Rashid with us? Ji, Ali, I don't know if you've been listening to what Rana Sahab has been saying in terms of coordination. Is the Sindh government coordinating with the federal government also in terms of providing as much assistance as possible? Of course, Rana Sahab updated us that they are in touch with all provincial governments of the affected provinces, and they are doing their best to facilitate them in terms of the relief efforts. Of course, our Pakistan Army is playing its role. Other organizations that have pledged support are on ground also. But do you think there's effective coordination?
There is, and I think you can see the optics, and you can see that the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister were together in Sindh, as you could see, and we are in coordination with the Army, the Corps Commander, the National, the NDMA, and everybody, and foreign donors, with the UN, with the EU. We've actually held meetings with the reps in Pakistan, and because of that, aid is coming, which they've pledged. So I think things are going well, and I'm just glad that it's a PMLN in the federal, because had it been PTI, it would be it would just be very, very hard for us to work, because they're not interested. I mean, right now also I think they've isolated themselves. They're not interested in working, although they're looking after KP and Punjab, but they're keeping a distance and just pointing fingers and playing the blame game, which is a bit
But
upsetting
Ali, is
for all
it
of us.
possible in the kind of crisis that we are seeing in the today? Is it possible at all to isolate? Isn't it something that brings home the fact that there needs to be across the board unity for this kind of crisis that we are seeing? Of course, this is a crisis of monumental proportions. We are seeing people lose their lives as we speak, their houses, their livelihoods, their, for generations to come. This will likely affect people, who are already on, the very, very below the poverty line at a time where we are seeing, of course, a crisis in our economy, generally speaking also. But does it not highlight that there is a need for political unity at all
100%.
times for us to come out of this kind of crisis, whether it's on this front when we talk about the floods or on the economy front also?
100%, 100%. You see, all these things are correlated also. Now, when you talk about 3 billion worth of losses of the crops, what do you think will happen? When there'll be shortage of food and all these crops, what will happen? When there's a shortage, then there'll be inflation. Food prices, food inflation will go up. So we are looking at very, times don't look good. And but if you look at it from if you zoom out and if you look at it, every single entity in this country, political parties, the army, international organizations, disaster, and every single person is on the same page except PTI. I just don't understand why. I think they should also just set aside their differences. They're demanding elections right now. I mean, they're talking about Shahbaz Gill. They're talking about elections till this date. I'm talking about today. I'm not even talking about that a week back. Till today, they're talking about the elections should not be postponed, local body elections. They went to the court today. They're talking about Shahbaz Gill. They're talking about, things which can
Ali,
wait.
unfortunately, I'm also running out of time, but I want to go to Dr. Zarqa, who's a senator with PTI. Dr. Zarqa, in terms of the efforts at this time in KPK, what are some of the relief efforts that you are seeing from the PTI? We saw Imran Khan Saab, of course, his visit today. Can you please update us a little bit? And do you think that it's likely that the PTI will also join in with other political parties in trying to combat the kind of destruction that we are seeing from the floods?
Thank you very much, Mahrukh. It's very interesting to hear the kind of narrative that's being developed by the gentleman who was speaking just before I joined in. I mean, who is the Prime Minister of this country? Mr. Shahbaz Sharif. What is the job of the Federation? To bring the federating units together. And what is the current Prime Minister doing? Him and his entire team of 50 plus people are taking the taxpayers' money at state expense. They are going, it's like around the world in 80 days, they're doing that in 20 days. The entire team of the federal cabinet is out every 2 weeks to go on a world tour. I mean, they are selling deals. They are going to Qatar to sell, cover for the football team. They're just making money. It is so sad. The floods have been there. I mean, Balochistan's been devastated. Sindh's been devastated. Punjab we are handling and KP we are handling. But where is the Federation? Where is NDMA? Where is PDMA? I mean, what is the job of the Prime Minister? And I do see, when people say Mr. Imran Khan, that's because people are expecting that Imran Khan is the only person who's going to take the responsibility of the nation. He is the man, during his tenure, we got the COVID pandemic, which comes in 100 years, and we were able to come out among the top 3 countries of
Dr.
the entire
Zarqa,
world.
I understand
So
that's
right now,
the narrative, but do you think it's
if
possible for us to perhaps do you think it's possible at all for us to postpone, at this time, talking about where the blame will lie or lies and just work together towards the floods?
It's not about the blame. So, see, it is the response. We are doing what, Punjab, we've managed Mianwali, and we've managed the flood in Sialkot. Right now, there's in Rajanpur and in DG Khan, there is a lot of flood. Ko Suleiman, and on the other side in KP, we've got floods in Sawar. There's been a lot of devastation. and we are handling that. The KP government is handling that. But what is happening in Balochistan and Sindh? That is terrible. I mean, Balochistan was the first affected, and look at the conditions there. Sindh, which has, the people there, there's nobody to help them. And putting all the provinces aside, where is the Prime Minister? What is the job of the Prime Minister?
Was on ground today also. The moment he came back from Qatar, he's been on ground. But I don't want to actually talk about where the blame is. I just wanted to get an updated version of what's happening all over. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Zarqa. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us, Ali Rashid. Thank you for being with us. Taimur Ali, thank you for updating us. Rana Ihsan Afzal Khan, thank you for joining us. Shahid Rind, thank you for updating us on the prevalent situation as far as floods are concerned. It is a time of it should be a time of political unity, whether it is the PTI or the PDM at this time. It is a time for all political representatives to be on ground to assist in any way, shape or form they can. It is a time perhaps of not calling out each other on where the blame lies. It is a time like, it is perhaps a time to halt the kind of blame game that we have seen recently in the past. Let's hope that all political parties can work together to combat the kind of crisis that we are seeing, because without Pakistan, we really have nothing to blame each other for. That is something of consideration, the kind of rehabilitation that is required, the kind of lives that are being lost, the kind of destruction that will potentially have ramifications for generations to come for these people. Let's hope that we can all work towards that. Let's hope that we can all do that. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.